asset.
Yeah, something like 2021, right? Where the year starts really well and finishes uh, less so, right? We end up, maybe it doesn't go into the bear market after, or maybe it does, but like 2024 is going to end well probably, and usually, especially like if you take the way it tends to move is Q4 and Q1 are the best returns for Bitcoin, and then obviously for crypto as a whole. So I could see how the end of the year would follow into Q1, and then you think after that we get a significant period of chop.
I mean, I have a bit of a doubt about that because crypto, Bitcoin, I don't really see any two big green candles like bull market candles before, right? Like 2019 doesn't really count. So 2021 kind of distorts that view. If you
Yeah.
could pull up the QQQ chart, I will show you what I'm talking about. Or SPX. SPX also works, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So let's do SPX and check out the chart in 2005. Then
Yep.
check the chart in 2011.
It's here. There's '05.
And there's 11.
There's Yep.
And then 20, well, 2015 was consolidation year.
Yep.
Yeah, so those are the recent ones. Then there's some more if you go in the past, like 1976, there,
Hmm.
and then there's more like 1983 or something. Regardless, this is the kind of candles I'm talking about, the indecision candles.
Yep.
This is what you see, like consolidation all year, low range volatility, just nothing really going on. And
Yeah.
this is what usually happens the third year out of a bear market, because now the bears have turned like have raised the white flags and the bulls are already excited, they're already all in, there's not really much for the market to worry about, and prices don't really climb that much in that. Plus it's the first year of a new president. I mean, even
Yep.
if Trump comes back, he will probably enact some policies that can shake up the markets. If Kamala comes, then then again it's the same thing. She can enact something that causes some uncertainty. Overall, I'm expecting something like this, like an indecision candle, a doji candle, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Makes sense, especially when you look at the
The
S&P. I
the
mean, those
2011 is not that. The second arrow you have,
no,
move
that's
that one.
2012. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one. That's the one. Similar to that, 2005, 2011. Those are what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially with like these two yearly candles are just huge. So having some consolidation after that wouldn't be a surprise with it.
Yep.
Can't go up forever. So what do you think would be like typically in these type of years? You're obviously going to try and you just mostly focus on short term trading because obviously it's not going to be like long term holds aren't going to reward in that year.
Mhm.
Do you focus more short term, or are there other sectors that tend to do well? If it's not equities, do you look at anything else?
I mean, for the most part, if you're trading anything on the daily time frame of below, you're going to be fine because daily time frame still trends quite a bit. You
Yeah,
still have a lot of, if you're scalping, obviously you're going to be completely fine. The
yeah,
only thing is taking trends on the weekly charts is a bit tricky. So
yeah,
think of like 2014, 2015. Think of, again, you can pull up 2015,
yeah.
2011 as well. So on the
Okay.
weekly charts, we just move sideways, so the trends don't carry on. So if
Yeah,
you're the kind of guy who likes to take trends on the weekly chart, or if you're holding on to long term investments, it's going to be a stock picker's market. Some things will trend, some things won't, and that's why indices will end up choppy.
yep.
So for long
So
term
yeah,
investments, don't play if you're not confident because the whole market won't rise. And then for short term, if you're looking at trends on the daily or hourly, you're completely fine.
yeah. You still get some nice trends here throughout 2011, and I mean a few of them. Once
Yeah, I
you,
mean, same in 2018. You can go and check on the daily. There are definitely trends. You can. It's nice. It's just on the weekly we simply move sideways for a while.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Just like a wide range of sets, really.
yeah. So that's
Nice.
what I'm expecting for 2025. Anybody who just likes to take trades on the weekly chart and forget about it, it's going to be a bit tricky for them.
Yeah, the time for that is has been the past couple of years and is coming to an end. You think?
Yes.
Nice, nice.
Coming to an end for 1 year. I think 2026, 2027, we continue the rally.
Yep.
The roaring 20s for now continues.
The Roaring Twenties. That's the
Yep.
way. That's the way. What do you think about in the next phase? So, do you think money will, given the fact that you think China might get some of the capital flows now, and people might chase over there. Do you also think that the tech rally is done for now, and that even in US equities, that people are going to go further down the risk curve?
I mean, yes. So this is another thing that I have discussed in the campus, in the market environment thing. Usually, when Fed starts cutting rates, that's when the banks start hunting down these value companies that need capital injection and giving them money. And that's usually the time when the value stocks, or like the legacy stocks, start to do well, where the growth stocks don't really do as well. Growth stocks do really well when Fed is either keeping interest rates really low, like the curve is flat, or even when they start raising rates, because that's when you realize these growth stocks don't really need loans from the banks to grow. They can just sell their stocks, or they can, yeah, I mean, most of the time they just sell their stock and get more capital, or they can do another a round of seed funding. So most of the times, the stocks that get screwed the most are the value stocks. And now that the Fed is going on the cutting cycle, the value stocks are starting to perform really well. So you can see that in healthcare, you can see that in defense stocks, but even the staples are doing really well.
Yep.
Retail stores are doing really well. So there's a chance that we will see some developments in the small caps again, which haven't run at all in this bull market. So we'll see some developments in the small caps and in value stocks, and money will flow out of tech.
Do you think that money flowing out of tech would affect crypto? Because wouldn't most people assume consider crypto to be like an extension of tech?
Not in the exact same way, because again, crypto also has the effect from other economies, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's where the major impact will come. Their funding doesn't really come from selling, I guess, in this US alone. It's universal. So it's a
Yeah.
bit hard to know exactly how it's going to impact crypto.
Yeah. I think
But
that would be
given
a
the
reason why crypto could outperform. Like if you see crypto outperforming equities, it's because it's more affected globally than just the US. But then as you get into 2025 and it starts to slow down, I think that would be what leads eventually to the correction and consolidation.
I mean, if you see the two yearly candles as well, which are massively green, I would say crypto, by the end of this run, I don't think anyone would be bearish,
Yeah.
right? And if nobody is bearish, if no one is expecting any lower price and everybody is euphoric, crypto usually tends to, the worst case or the best case is it goes into consolidation.
Hmm.
So I'm
Yeah.
expecting similar for QQQs to similar for crypto. There
Yeah.
might be slight outperformance by crypto because of the Chinese money, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it cannot really climb without a wall of worries.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the worst thing I see. Everything looks good. Everything is like bullish at the moment. All the signs are there. The problem is just that the sentiment just flips straight back to, oh, we're back, that's it, fucking bull market, let's go. Q4 has to be bullish, it all has to go up so much. And it's like, I think it'll be trickier. It won't just be, I guess the way I'm seeing it so far is that, especially for altcoins, they'll pump randomly, or not randomly, but they won't pump as a whole. I think you'll see a lot of rotations. I think that'll be probably the name of the game here.
I mean, I'll have a question. I'll have a question for you as well. Right now, right now, how is the sentiment in the crypto universe? Not in TRW, because they will probably follow your bias, but like on Twitter, where what the guys are saying on other forums and stuff.
Yeah, it's just like I just see it 100% bullish. Like bears capitulating completely. Um, Everyone talking about this is it, this is the time, lock in, don't sleep, 18 hours a day. This is where you're going to change your life. You're going to get super rich. Seeing like massive P&L screenshots already all over Twitter. Meme coins popping off. It's just like uh, it's gone from one extreme to the other very fast. I don't
Isn't
think
that a
that
bit strange? Because Bitcoin is still in the range. It hasn't really broken out yet.
that's the problem, right? So that's why I think Bitcoin runs towards the range high, maybe 70, and I do think we get some either either like a just a sharp leverage flush or some choppy sideways action. I don't know. I'll probably lean towards sideways action because a lot of this is still, at least for now, what people have done is they've just piled straight back into memes. Like memes are clearly the first thing to run, as it's recency. People remember what happened
Mhm.
last, what worked first, what worked last time. and a lot of that's on chain, so it's not necessarily going to be like leverage flushes. Obviously, stuff like Pepe, Whiff, and that is on centralized exchanges too. I don't know. I think the sentiment for me is definitely like I would not like to see it this bullish when Bitcoin is where it is. Yeah, you would like to see Bitcoin here when Bitcoin's here. Sorry, you would
Hello, hello.
come back.
All right, you're back.
First rug. They are rugs are a feature of my streams.
Okay.
So like this, as you're looking at like BTC, you'd like to see this as like a wall of worry, right? Except sentiment is not wall of worry to me. It's
I won't even say this is a wall of worry. This is just you had the Fed cut rates, you had China liquidity injection. What are they worried about? That's just money coming into the system or expectation of money coming into the system.
yeah. I
Like
just
I would,
mean
I would,
sentiment wise.
yeah.
When Bitcoin's only at 65, 66, I would say altcoin sentiment has gone way beyond that. To maybe
Interesting.
it's not overextended, right? You look at like total like it's not nothing is like a crazy blow off top euphoric levels or anything like that. I just think that there's a correction will come. I don't think yet. I talked about on Weekly Outlook. I think this is the part where you think there should be a correction, then it keeps going, and the correction comes later. But to put it this way, like I don't think this total three just does what it did over here. I don't think it just keeps going straight up to new highs and out from there, based on how bullish the market is, how much open interest is building up already, how everyone's flipping back into meme coin stuff on Twitter. It just seems like everyone's just reverted back to February, in terms of the sentiment.
One another thing that's interesting that's going on in the stocks world, and a lot of my campus guys have also discussed it, is they keep comparing it to 2007. And people have this idea that it just something is similar, it has to play out exactly, but
Oh, bro, the 2007 stuff is so fucking cringe. I know.
yes, and they just ignore the fact that the conditions were quite different.
Yeah,
So
but bro, the Fed cut rates on the 18th of September in 2017 as well, or 2007, right?
I
It just
know,
says it
right?
happened to be the same day. I'm like, yeah,
The same day, the structure looks the same. They conveniently ignore the fact that LIBOR went crazy in July. LIBOR
yeah,
is the exchange is the interest rate the banks pay each other. By the way, guys,
hmm
and that went crazy in July. They had to bail out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac also in 2007, and the real estate market had crashed in 2006. So
yeah,
like it's so conveniently left out. But this is just another thing. If any of the crypto guys, if you guys see some idea of a recession because they compare charts to 2007, like ignore that. Like
yeah,
that's just pure retardation. There's nothing going on there.
yeah, exactly. And even if it is, just wait until the chart's actually bearish, right? Wait until
Exactly.
structure break, wait until it goes below key levels, and then scale or reduce risk.
Yep.
So um, we covered recession. We covered the the equity is what I wanted to ask about with those. With the there was something else in recession I want to say. Recession. What do you think can actually cause a recession? Like, what would you need to see for it actually to become a reality? Because, like you said, since the last time we streamed, all the data has come in pretty good, and with the Fed easing rates or cutting rates, sorry, by 50 basis points, it seems like they're trying to get ahead of it.
Mhm.
And I mean, Powell even said that, right? He said we were slow to raise, and they're cutting a bit quicker. Everyone knows that he kind of leans dovish anyway, so this makes sense. So it seems that right now it would take a lot for a full blown recession to happen.
Yeah, I don't expect a recession at all. As I said at the start of the stream, bull markets go a lot longer and a lot higher than most people expect. We are at optimism stage. We are nowhere near euphoria. We aren't seeing a lot of new early stage IPOs. We are not seeing a lot of merger activity. We are not seeing anything in the stock market that would say like, all right, a new bear market is coming soon.
Yeah,
For recession by itself, the economy doesn't really is not really saying that it's slowed down enough. And the reason for that could have been the COVID. It changed the business habits where now they don't overhire, they also save a bit of money for urgent situations. And 2022, when they raised rate, that was like an emergency situation. But most businesses, because they started saving money after COVID, they did not really need loans, so they did not really need easy monetary conditions to survive. So the idea of a recession, I don't really see here. I just see, as I said, consolidation and then continuation after that. For recessions to happen, it has to be very for recessions to happen, it has to be a very uh, nuanced situation.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just a chain of events that couldn't have been that are unforeseen. That's where they call it black swan events.
Yeah.
And other times it's just part of the economic cycle. So in 2022, we saw a bear market already happen in anticipation of a recession that didn't really. We did have 2 quarters of negative growth data,
Yeah.
but then after that we were fine, right? So to anticipate again 2 years later when nothing has really changed, I don't see the reason for it. Most of the banks were already prepared because Powell is very smart. Like he signaled all of 2021 that he will raise rates, guys. That's why
Hmm.
people kept saying, like, oh, he was slow to raise rates. No, he was giving banks a chance to get out of their positions because banks for so long the interest rates were zero that they took these far out bonds, right, something 20, 30 years down the line at a low interest rate just to get some yield. And when the interest rates, the short term rates were increased so fast, these banks holding their positions started to be in a loss, right, because the bonds are getting screwed. Most of the banks had the chance to get out. Only a few like stupid banks, the ones that blew up in 2023, like Silicon Valley Bank was one of them. There were a couple regional banks. They're the only ones that got stuck in that, and the big banks just came, took them over, and nothing really changed. So Powell did it very carefully, unlike what happened in 2007 when Bernanke just increased rates without giving ample warning for banks to adjust their positioning.
Yeah.
So, and even reducing rates, Powell waited till he saw, all right, the economy is doing well, where we don't really need inflation has come to within 2%, right? Like it's slightly above 2%. The unemployment rate hasn't increased significantly. We don't really need to keep up these high rates, and so they started cutting rates fast. So he managed it so beautifully that he did not really somehow break the system, and that's good for now. Inflation obviously sometimes can be sticky now that the central banks around the world are printing again. We never know because commodities haven't really gone down, but so far it doesn't really seem like an issue.
Hmm. Very good. What do you think about crypto stocks? Stuff like Coin, MicroStrategy, and the miners and stuff like that?
I mean, miners, they're not really killing it yet. MicroStrategy is near the highs, right? It's actually outperforming Bitcoin. It's already at the top of its range compared to Bitcoin. Yeah, Sailor is a G, but we
Yeah.
already knew that.
Great.
coin Coin is a bit slower. It's a
Yeah.
bit far from its highs, but again, coin runs more on alts rather than
Yeah.
Bitcoin itself. So once alts are back in action, coin can run. The miners have been underperforming. Mara is, yeah,
Yeah.
hasn't really moved. Riot is dead. The only one that's really doing well is Course, CORZ, Core Scientific. I don't really know what they do, but they're outperforming everything. So
Interesting. New and shiny, maybe. Seems like it's a newer company than the others. I mean, I
it
think
is.
my view on the miners has always been that they are like as crypto matures, they're a worse and worse way to express an opinion on crypto, right? Because the bigger crypto gets, the less Bitcoin is a part of it. Obviously, Bitcoin's still obviously the biggest, but crypto as a whole, um, if it grows, it's growth of the whole industry rather than just BTC by itself. And then the other assumption I always had was that 2021 and 2017, you like there weren't ETFs, right? So a lot of TradFi would just have to buy crypto related stocks because that's the only way of getting exposure. Now they can just get the ETF for either Bitcoin or
Exactly.
Ether. So that's going to steal some flows away, right?
That's been happening. You can see most of the moves just go in IBIT. And back
Yeah.
in the past, they had GBTC. I don't think anybody goes there anymore. I
No,
mean, it's
GBTC,
still working. Yeah.
GBTC, fucking dumpster fire. Absolute. I mean, they made a killing, but their customers got shafted, getting
I
stuck in.
mean, stocks are going to be a bit boring. Like I know they outperformed, they did really well in 2024 compared to crypto markets. But going
Mhm.
forward, I would say if I was just advising somebody, as like you will see more action in crypto than you would see in stocks. It just
Seems
it's the
like
ranges too. Even if it's a consolidation, crypto just moves more. Like,
yep, more volatility in general,
that's
especially
it.
when people care. And that was what I said. Thing I said as well with with the whole like everyone's we're so back and all the attention, all the hype, and you can go on Twitter and look at it and you can be like, oh fuck, is this bad or bearish? Is this crazy? Are we going to top? All I see is everyone cares about crypto again. So as a trader, that's going to equal volatility, right? It might not just be straight up only, but you're definitely going to have wider daily ranges. You're going to have more trading opportunities. Alts are moving for the first time in ages. So for traders who go both ways, it's perfect, right?
Exactly. Next year, if you stick on the daily charts or hourly charts, you're gonna make a killing.
Yeah.
But if you are the kind of guy who wants to just look at stocks once a week and hold on to them, then you have to be smarter about it. It's a stock picker's market. It's not gonna be as easy.
hmm Nice.
So
All right, perfect. So, anything else, or should we jump into some questions?
let's move to questions, man.
Let's go. All right. GM Hunter, GM Luco. Adam's
Before
portfolio.
we
Sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
before we go, I have one question for you because I completely forgot. I know
Uh-huh.
you're back into spot BTC. Are you looking at any alts to
Mhm.
outperform, or it's mostly focused on BTC as the big G right now?
Just holding BTC, and I'm going to trade everything else. Yeah. So my current view is that the meme coins go first, and I think they go to all-time highs and then stop, like so the big ones. So I would look at personally. I think Pepe, Whiff, and well, really mostly Pepe and Whiff. I think these are now beginning the trend to all-time highs, and maybe not that path because I don't think it's going to do that. I actually think that these things will probably run quite hard to the all-time high, and then they'll cool off, and other stuff will go. And whether they go higher after that, I don't know. I don't think that every meme coin is just going to go, fucking 50x like people seem to expect. But they are the momentum assets at the moment. So I think that Pepe, Whiff, uh, and then some of the smaller ones like Apu is one that I've got my eye on. You have to go on the Bybit one towards these kind of all-time high areas. And I mean, there's a million odds. I don't include stuff like Doge and Shib in this because there is no all-time high target for them. Right, it's just too far away. And the new class of trader doesn't view these, I don't believe, as obviously 2024 highs are, but I don't think the new class of trader really views Doge as something that realistically can get to its all-time high. Especially when you've got new stuff like Whiff and Pepe that can. And all-time high is, in my view, stuff's going to go there. It's just a matter of what goes first. We saw this like last time round where Injective was the first one to break its all-time high. There's always a coin that blasts to all-time high that gives a signal for everything else to kickstart, right? So
All right.
like when Injective did last time, it really gave everyone that boost or that confirmation or whatever you want to call it to go. And I think that'll be some of the memes. But I think they'll cool off at that point. But yeah, I'll be long memes until all time highs.
I still did
I don't.
not understand the meme mania of 2024, right? Like if people say, all right, they realize all of crypto is a Ponzi, all of crypto is a
Mhm.
scam, might as well just bet on these funny tokens, right? The ones that have no utility anyways. Then why at some point do we even expect that utility coins will run, right? Like we can just have a whole cycle with memes and then over. Like I did not get this idea that people would say, okay, now we will have the meme cycle and then we'll go back to utilities. Usually it's the opposite.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be like you know utility coins. I don't think they'll. Some of them will do well, and I don't think memes as a whole will do well. I just don't see any way that the entire thing can just go up, all of it, because all you see on Twitter in every post and all the replies is just relentless meme coin shilling of all these just random memes. I think that the very very cheap and very very expensive, so like the premium and the really discount stuff, is the way to play it, because what gets lost is the stuff that's stuck in the middle. And that the same was true last cycle for utility coins. Like when the like Matic and Phantom and all these things, whenever they were small and Ethereum blew up, the game was, oh, let Ethereum killer play the all catch up trade, and then they all exploded up to multi-billion market caps. But when they dropped back in that May crash, except for like maybe Solana was like the only one really, they really struggled thereafter, because I think Pepe and Whiff have crossed over to the point where they're like I hate the word blue chip, but there's probably no better way of describing it. They've become like fully in the consciousness of the market. They're fully accepted. Everyone knows them. They have this kind of brand value, and I think that allows them to have the bigger players who need certain liquidity to be able to get in, uh, to chase those ones. Everything else, if there's a meme coin between like 100 mil and a billion, I wouldn't touch it personally. I think they're stuck in the middle of nowhere because you look at like a $500 million meme coin. It's like, what are you gonna? You're not gonna trade it for a 2x. If it's 100 mil or below, you can still have that idea of this could 10x. So I think capital will flow there from the smaller players and from some of the bigger players who have more flexible trading approaches or whatever. And then the big stuff, because look, everyone wants to play memes, right? But if you're in the top end of funds or firms or institutions or whatever, you can't play in the really illiquid, shitty stuff at the bottom. So I think that they'll try. That's probably the biggest bull case for all the utility stuff as well, is that it's some of the stuff that the bigger players can go into, especially the ones that just won't get approval to go into memes, because it doesn't even pretend to be real. And if they have outside investors, they're just not going to want people to invest in meme coins, right? And so that's where you do get a lot of capital will flow into layer ones and DeFi projects and stuff like that. And you see that with like the VC coins, right? Sui's been the big one. It's been
Yes.
running these VC heavy coins with terrible tokenomic schedules, but they have big players behind them who can back them and pump them and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I don't know. I think meme coins will run. I think for still a few more weeks, and but I do expect them to underperform after that.
So that's my question: is why would the money go into utility after that? Like, what made meme coins run before utility? Because usually it's like at least utility has a, I mean, it might not work out, but they have a use case. People make some extra money there, then they go to gamble in meme coins. But this time, the cycle just started with meme coins.
Yeah, I think it relies on. I think two things. I think one is just that too many people assumed that the last cycle would play out the same way, right? So I think part of the reason why memes went first is because they went last time, and Bitcoin goes up. Bitcoin makes everyone a lot of money, the wealth effect. And then the old way was it flows into Ethereum, then it flows into the top 10, then it flows into the top 50, and then it flows into top 100, and all the way down until the shit pumps. And then once the shit pumps, we're all done and dead and see you in 4 years. But the shit that pumps at the end pumps the most, right? So this time, whenever Bitcoin had its big rally, smart players just looked at it and said, wait a minute, why don't we just go right to the stuff that's going to pump the most? And so it's just like all the capital. Basically, the market got smarter, right? They just realized, why bother doing this kind of top 10 to top 20 to top 50 to top 100? Why not just go straight from the majors, Bitcoin and Sol, right into the stuff that's the highest beta, most volatile, biggest pumps? And that led to that. In my opinion, that's what led to the meme coin mania, and also what led to kind of the shorter cycle sort of thing, where it was just a few months and then it had a lengthy cool off. Um, I
So I
think
agree with that, but then why would the money go back to utility if they just cut out the middleman, right? Like cut
I
out the
don't think
top
the
20,
money.
top 50.
Yeah, I think because I don't think new money came in. I don't think there was any new money in that first wave. I think if utility is going to go, it's because actually new money flows in. Most of the money that flowed into the whole meme coin mania was, at least from what I can see, was mostly existing participants, because obviously Bitcoin had the ETFs, and the ETFs are much less of a flow through effect where people can now just buy Bitcoin without ever putting money into crypto, whereas before you used to have to actually buy Bitcoin, and then the people whoever sells it to you might go on and buy some alts or whatever. So there's less of that trickle down effect from BTC because of ETFs. And I think most of it was players from last cycle or just crypto OGs or anyone who's played the cycles coming back in and deciding to deploy, and they just deployed straight into memes once they saw it. If the utility coin narrative or just anything except for memes, if it goes up, I think it's probably because there's an expectation of an extended period of crypto bull, which will allow the whole VC spinning up, run funds and raising money and new projects and all that kind of stuff. That's only just started again too, because we pumped so fast off the lows in October, and it ended so quick that those slower moving players just didn't even get a chance to get in. whereas now they do. Right now they've had a 7 month consolidation, and I think that that could be a kickstart for some of these other coins that have had rallies off the lows, but not the crazy kind of moves that memes have seen. I'm still like overall, am I? I find it hard to be bullish utility coins overall because so many of them are just so far away from their 2021 highs that I don't think many people realistically think they can go there outside of some of the, your most obvious one is Sol, right? Sol obviously can. So Sol has shown how it's like well on its way to all time highs, but most of the 2021 stuff is like nothing like that. Take another L1 from 2021, like AVAX. It's like, I don't know if people actually look at AVAX and think this thing can go to all time highs, you know?
But we're not talking about. I mean, I agree with your analysis that a lot of new money didn't come, and many of the guys were a bit slow. But the meme coins we're talking about are also not the 2021 meme coins. We're not talking about Doge and Shiba. We're talking about the new ones. So
New
I was
stuff.
thinking the new utility coins would have picked up, but I guess, as you said, new money hasn't come in yet, and the old guys just know utility is BS, so they went directly for meme.
Yeah. And there's a narrative now, like because crypto's very retail. Like crypto is, you know, heavily retail. Like it's such a retail driven market. And everyone learned last cycle that you shouldn't buy this stuff that has terrible tokenomics and VCs with big unlock schedules and all that. So that's the thing. That's the narrative that's against the new stuff because as soon as it launched, everyone's like, oh yeah, but in a year's time, the inflation on this token is just terrible. So yeah, we might trade it for 2 or 3 weeks, but then we're going to say fuck this, right? And instead of that, it's just new memes, and so then the narrative keeps cycling through new memes, and that's why every couple of weeks there's some new narrative with some new animal that's fucking famous on TikTok or whatever.
Yep.
I think though, if there is like a bull case for utility coins, I would guess it's the election. I'd expect a pretty significant rally if Trump wins, because just then pricing in the regulatory clarity of a new SEC and more favorable crypto conditions should be good for the old stuff like your Aves and Unis and stuff like that. But I mean, personally, I think that will create a nice rally that will just be exit liquidity as well. Like if you say Uniswap, for example, if the election goes in the favor of Trump, that's the kind of move I could see on something like Uni, right? Trump wins the election. People are like, holy shit, now Uniswap can distribute token holders to profits to them or whatever. And so you get these nice big rallies, but that's it. And I mean, I don't even know what this is, I guess. This is like hyper speculative bullish case, but I would expect more like that, just a strong rally across utility coins, and then people take profit and exit. Because
I have a
I don't, sorry, go ahead.
I said I have a similar bias that we have a run after elections and then we start that pullback that ends up in consolidation. So
Yeah,
I know people have this expectation that we're going to run like late into 2025 or something. And from
yeah,
the start of the year, I've maintained that I think the run might finish by December or January. So
yeah.
similar to what you have is like after elections, we have a major pump and then we
Mhm.
simply start that range bound action. Not like a major dump like we have seen in the past bear markets for Bitcoin, and nothing major on the upside either. It's just sideways that bores people to death.
Yeah, and I think that's the case, and I agree with that. I think Q4 and Q1, if we're gonna get the best of it, it's gonna be this quarter, and then going into January, February, March, maybe. And after that, I expect the same, like some kind of correction, pullback sideways or whatever. But and for Bitcoin, yeah, like I think Bitcoin is going up and to the right with long consolidations in between, and 20, 30, 40% pullbacks and that kind of stuff after it makes new highs. The What I do think then is I struggle to see how alts won't just continue to fully retrace, because people are so conditioned to, as soon as the run is over, you just don't want to own alts. I find it hard to see how any alt could. Obviously, like Solana's done it, right? That's like the exception. But I expect most alts like this, once the run ends, like Bitcoin stopped here and it consolidated, but Uniswap came all the way back down, and pretty much everything else came all the way back down. And I think that will continue, because at the end of the day, what coins actually have use and actually have a future? Clearly, Solana has something, because people have decided to not sell their Solana, right, all the way back down, and it has held up to a certain level. But that's the exception rather than the rule. Most of the other stuff is significantly declined from there.
I agree. I completely agree. I would say Bitcoin is just going to consolidate, keep going higher, as you have mentioned, like in 2030, all
Yeah.
over, because all the banks, all the countries are going to start using it as reserves.
Hmm.
But the alts, for the most part, when Bitcoin stops running, they're just going to dump all of
Yeah.
it.
What do you think about Ethereum? Any thoughts on
I don't really have much, man. This thing, it's disappointing,
it?
is
Hmm.
what I could say. Just hasn't really ran at all this cycle, and obviously had big expectations from it. But once it closed below the 50-week moving average, it's like, all right, this thing is gonna take a bit longer. On the ETH BTC chart, I think we finally retested a major level,
Yeah.
but doesn't really do much because we have so much overhead resistance. So
Yeah.
I don't really see ETH doing anything significant.
No.
I would say it can have a leg up, right, where ETH BTC can go and retest 0.055 area. So
Yeah.
for ETH, at least that would be a nice run once
Yeah.
Bitcoin gets to about 90 to 100K. But
Hmm.
again, nothing major.
And this has been like the worst trade of the cycle in terms of so many of the class of 2021 crypto. Like there's a lot of crypto native funds who
Mhm.
are who like crushed it last cycle because they were early. It's basically because of that, right? They were early, but they were also picked the correct stuff and they were right about the narratives. But all of that class and a lot of like the crypto Twitter sphere had ETH as their number one bet for this cycle, right? Is all about ETH. It was ETH to 10K. It was your portfolio should be denominated in ETH. And so all you've seen now, like this whole cycle, is that being disproven to the point where I don't know. I don't even know if people are capitulating on that idea yet, or if they're just holding on, waiting for ETH to make its run. But I think a lot. No one's ever going to tell you, right? Because especially on Twitter, they're never going to share their losses. But I think a lot of I'm talking like there's framework is one of them. There's mechanism. There's a bunch of these like hedge funds, air quotes, but they're crypto native. They're started by like young crypto guys. I think most of them are just down bad, like down bad, 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 because they were just massive ETH bulls, and it was all about ETH, and it's obviously been crushed so far.
I mean, I see. I see. They don't really have. Would you say they don't really have many risk metrics once like it's not performing to just move out of it? They just keep hoping.
Yeah, it's just it's all because it's all grand high macro cyclical bets they're talking about. It's like and because I think some of there's going to be a lot of big blow ups, I would guess, in like crypto native funds because uh, at least when you hear, I listen to them talk on podcasts, and they don't talk like tradfi hedge fund guys do, who literally like if a position goes to a certain level, they will just cut the risk. These
Mhm.
guys are like, no, it's crypto. We're used to the volatility. We're used to the drawdown. You just have to sit through it. You have to sit tight, and you get rewarded on the other side. I think I think this chart just shows it. I just think it was over allocation into ETH is what's causing this. It's just far too many people are not even. It's not about being long ETH like on perps or nothing. It's just far too many people had ETH as their entire base of their portfolio.
I mean, funny that if you check the chart of 2017 right before ETH runs, you can see it's something very similar where it keeps grinding lower, ETH BTC, and
Yeah.
then just reverses all at once.
Hmm.
I imagine a lot when a lot of those funds blow up, ETH will come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But most of those guys, as you said, they don't manage risk. They're not going to be there to take advantage.
Yeah, I think it basically, and I think when ETH goes, it retraces most of that run, and I think that's like as far as ETH goes. I don't think it goes much beyond here. I think it retraces pretty much all that underperformance in a
Yep.
rally if it gets it. I'm not sure if it'll do it like this fast because I mean ETH's like a $300 billion asset itself now as well, so it's held to a different standard, and the ETF doesn't seem to be super popular. And hmm, I don't know. I think the other thing I thought as well is ETH might just be skipping a cycle, right? As it doesn't. I don't think everything has to go all together at the same time as the typical idea we have of what crypto is. You could see a cycle of underperformance from ETH, and maybe its time to run is this might be coming down to like have to put in like a bottom and then run later on. You know,
I mean, yeah, I guess that would be signs of market maturing. Or
yeah.
as you had mentioned, right now we had the meme run, and meme run was mostly Solana based.
Hmm.
If the money does end up flowing into utilities somehow because these slow guys picked up the slack, maybe ETH can start performing then.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
And
for
then
now,
it's
it
like,
looks awful.
yeah, because I know people. I've saw people saying like, obviously Bitcoin has done so well on Wall Street, TradFi, because it's like easy narrative digital gold, right? And it's like 1/10 or 1/12 the size of gold, so there's something to chase down. Whereas ETH is like ETH is compared to other companies, more tech kind of play, and so it's like this $300 billion company that doesn't make any money. So it's like it's kind of like relatively doesn't make much money. So it's kind of a hard sell. I don't think people really view ETH as money, or they don't view it as a store of value, especially not like on Wall Street. So it's just got this narrative problem.
I mean, I think the fact that's not being noticed is also it's gone deflationary, right? So if the utility coins actually do start to get a pump, that by itself will lead to ETH having a major run, which it
Yep.
hasn't really seen in the last couple cycles because it wasn't deflationary at that point.
Yep. Exactly. All right. Let's get into some
Le-
questions.
Sounds good, G. Sounds good.
Adam's portfolio. Some of the names are G. GM. Having listened to both of you for quite a while, I can't help but notice you've accumulated a lot of wisdom, far beyond what I'd expect for your relatively young ages. In fact, you seem to possess more wisdom than many people much older than you. How do you think you've gained such insight at this stage of your life? What's your general approach to life, especially for a man in terms of balancing ambition, personal growth, and everyday challenges? All right, you take that one. What do you think, bro?
Sure. So for me, I've been lucky. I've been called to have more wisdom for my age from a very young age, and I think it just comes from being curious, asking questions. So right from a very young age, I was always curious about the world, and I'm lucky that my parents or the teachers that I had did not really shut down my questions. They sometimes did not know the answer, but they were happy to say that they didn't know the answer and they were willing to find out. So that by itself showed me from a young age that it's not a problem if you don't know the answer to something. It's definitely a problem if you bullshit or if you shut down the question. Be curious about the world, try and understand the reasoning for things, have an original thought. And when you start having these original thoughts, you start to see the world as something that's your own oyster, right? Like that's something that you create. Because at the end of the day, reality for the most people, it's in their head. The whole universe is in their head. There's nothing like there is one reality, but it's not the same for different people. It gets filtered through the lens of their subconscious as well as their conscious. So if you had to get two people to agree on reality, that's never going to happen. All you can do is understand how you view the world and how other people view the world, and then find common points and enjoy. Right? That's all you can do. And the only way to do that is to be conscious of how you are viewing the world, right? Conscious about your thought patterns, about your subconscious instincts. Try to understand how other people view the world and then find the common ground. Only way you're going to do that is by being curious, by being open to different viewpoints, and then